We're ready. Spivey joins us on the Invader Coffee guest line. What's up, Jay? How are you?
How you doing, sir? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Can we finally put an epitaph and a bow on the Carolina Panthers season?
I put a bow on it during the draft in April, May, whatever it was. I don't know what you're doing, but I put it on there a long time ago.
I think I put it on there before the draft even began.
I mean, again, I know I sound like a broken record, but they used all that draft capital
For what?
spent all that and used all those picks. Nothing against Bryce Young, but my goodness gracious, he has no talent around him whatsoever.
And you know what's bad? It's each week it gets worse. They got lucky last week in their lone win of the season. Then you face a Colts team that was downtrodden. They've given up 3 in a row. They've lost 3 in a row. They've given up 37 points at least in each of the last 3 games. The Jaguars, the Browns, and the Jaguars, the Browns, and the Saints, and nothing from Carolina. Nothing.
That's just horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how anybody can sit there and watch them. I mean, I know like every other team, they have their diehard fans, but my goodness, they're just brutal to watch.
I mean, this is how bad it was for me. I set everything was set up for me to go live with the alternative play-by-play I had scheduled, and I couldn't find the darn game for the first like 5 minutes. That's how bad it was.
Well, I mean, like you and I were texting back and forth yesterday afternoon, I guess late in the second half, and I know that the league has to balance the schedule by putting on these 405 games.
Yes,
against these 425 games. But you put the Colts and Panthers against the Eagles and Cowboys yesterday. Who on earth watched that?
and it was tough for the Eagles and Cowboys to get flexed out because you had the Bills and the Bengals for Sunday Night Football. Who would you switch that game with? Because the Panthers and Colts played at 4:05. Should have been played at 1. Should have been played at 1:00.
Well, absolutely, but I mean, it's usually a West Coast game that goes to 4:05 instead of 2 Eastern teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually like you'll see I don't know, like Raiders and Broncos or something, 4:05 or something.
And CBS had that call.
Yeah,
CBS had that call yesterday.
Yeah, and that was their problem. But to put who watched that game compared to the Cowboys and Eagles yesterday?
Oh, there were so many more eyes on the Cowboys and Eagles in Philadelphia. So many
Not
more.
Even close. Not even close.
So many more eyes on that game, and it went down to the wire. You can actually do what CBS has been doing is taking some of the big NFC games and putting it on CBS, because CBS had the NFC package before 1994 anyway. So it wouldn't have been strange to some of the fans.
Those, for the most part, the Cowboys game was the national game yesterday, but there were the few who got the Giants and Raiders game yesterday on Fox as well. But I mean, for the most part, it was Cowboys and Eagles. Nobody watched the Panthers and Colts play.
Nobody watched that. Nobody watched that game.
And you think it's bad this week, and they're a single game this week. Panthers and Colts on Thursday night on Amazon. I mean, Panthers and Bears on Amazon Thursday night. I mean, my goodness, come on!
I'm going to sleep.
Oh my god! Like everybody else.
I already told Jody, because she asked me if I was doing that game Thursday night. I looked at her and said, "No, I'm not touching that one." And she said, "Good call."
That's just tough. And we're gonna see who by far got the best end of that trade.
Mm-hmm. And CJ Stroud, and meanwhile, CJ Stroud's growing up right before our eyes.
Oh yes, absolutely.
CJ
And
Stroud is growing
I
up right
don't think
before
it's
our eyes, man.
I don't think it's all Bryce Young's fault. Just like I said,
Mhm.
he has no talent around him. But he's scared to death back there.
No line around him, no running game to depend on, nothing.
He's getting beat up. He's turned the ball over left and right. It's just,
And
they're
yesterday,
so
not one
bad.
but two pick sixes by Kenny Moore. Two on
Yeah.
rush throws.
Yep.
On rushed throw, both of them. One at the end of the first half when the Panthers were driving, if you want to call it that, and then the second one, which in essence put the game away. In essence, nothing. It did put the game away because the Panthers couldn't muster any offense. They
And not only
barely got
that,
points.
the NFC South is so bad.
It's man, that NFC South has been
Man,
horrible
it's
since the division
terrible.
was formed. Since the division was formed in 2002, the NFC South has been horrible. Both South divisions. Let's just say
Yeah.
it the way it needs to be said. Both South divisions.
When I know the NFL, for the most part, the NFL's done a good job of pretty much everything they've ever done. But the way
Mm-hmm.
they drew the AFC South up makes no sense to me.
None.
And I know they kind of
None.
went with rivalries because realistically, the Dolphins should be in the South,
Mm-hmm.
but they want to keep them in the East because of all their old former rivalries. And I get that. And
Yep.
let's face it, the Cowboys have no business being in the NFC East, but they kept them in there because of rivalries.
Because of the rivalries. Absolutely. Kept
Probably
in there
they should have
because of
put
the rivalries.
probably should have put the Ravens in the East and moved the Dolphins to the South, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe a couple other moves here and there. But I mean, the Colts have no business being in the South. I don't care what
None.
people say.
None. And to think they ruled the division for a long time, and then Houston popped out. Houston popped out of nowhere. Now the Jaguars are popping out of nowhere. When they realigned these divisions in 02, they did them wrong. Dead wrong. I
Wow.
mean, to be perfectly honest, they had no business realigning anyway. You had everything right there within those divisions.
And and I think it's obvious we're heading toward having some sort of hybrid European division here down the line here soon, within the next 10 or 20 years, probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious the way that they're going. So they might change the divisions that way, but I don't know how else they could change it.
I don't know how else they can change neither. And all these international games that
Like
are
I said,
regular.
we're headed toward going to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and they
And
want that other time slot. They want that 9:30 time slot so bad.
you can see it. You can see it with them putting some of the primetime matchups there.
I mean, who would have thought that the Dolphins and Chiefs would have been a major game at 9:30 a.m. yesterday?
Not me. Because when I originally did my graphic for the picks, I said 1 p.m. Arrowhead Stadium. I thought 1 p.m. Arrowhead Stadium, and then someone alerted me that it was being played in Germany.
Oh
And
no,
next week, the Colts go to Germany.
correct.
They go to Frankfurt, Germany to play a downtrodden Patriots team. They want that 9:30 time slot, and it's
Oh,
awful.
they definitely want it. Definitely want it. No matter, depending on where they play in Europe, whether it be London or I have.
Mm-hmm.
I know they haven't really tried Paris in quite a while, but you got to believe Paris is in the mix. Maybe
Yeah.
Barcelona, or somewhere in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Because they played.
some
They played.
Rome,
They played in
Rome,
Barcelona. Yep, they played in Barcelona, Spain before.
Munich, Frankfurt.
Mm-hmm. They already
Some
got
of these type cities.
They already got Frankfurt. They got London on lockdown.
Oh, London
Hence
is
the London
there is definitely.
games.
The question is how they're going to do London, because it's obvious they're going to have a team in London there somehow.
And it won't take 10 years for that to happen.
Well, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I know they're doing this renovation to Jacksonville, but for all intents and purposes, Jacksonville is pretty much has a second home in London right now.
Yeah. It seems that it's where they've gotten most of their success lately. But that's going to be a 3-year long experiment while they blow up and rebuild Alltel Stadium in Jacksonville.
Yes, true.
That's going to be a 3-year experiment. Speaking of experiments, can we end the Drake May experiment for the football Tar Heels? Can we end that, please?
Well, again, I don't know what has happened within the last 3 weeks or whatever it is, but the kid, I'm always been this sentiment. I'm a journalist, but outside of journalism, I've always been an anti-Carolina person.
Mm-hmm.
But having seen him in person, I was a little skeptical last year. But I did see him in person play last year. He is way better than I thought he was. The
Yeah.
kid can play. If he gets the right personnel around him, he could be as good, if not better, than Caleb Williams is.
So the game against Virginia 3 weeks ago, which started this mess, a game that they were favored by double digits.
How you lose to Virginia and Georgia Tech back-to-back weeks when you're as hot as they were at the time?
And
It's
both times they lost.
beyond comprehension to me.
And both times they lost by 4 points.
Yeah, you can't. I don't care who you are. You can't lose to Virginia.
They weren't supposed to lose to Virginia. We had talked on the air. We talked about this, and I said I may have to cover that game. And the playmaker Darnell Solins talked me out of it. I had a gut feeling that was a trap game for North Carolina.
Oh, it was
because since 2015, the last time they won anything divisionally or conference wise, they've always had one game that trapped them and took them out of the rankings and took them out of competition for the ACC title. Virginia felt to me like that game, and Virginia hung 31 on North Carolina that week.
And they've done nothing since then. Virginia, man.
Nothing.
And then Carolina the very next week goes to Atlanta and loses to Georgia Tech.
And allows 46 points.
To Georgia Tech.
They allow 46 points. 14 of them came in the last 2 minutes.
I saw Georgia Tech myself about 3 or 4 weeks ago in person.
Mm-hmm.
They're not any good at all.
No, they're not.
And Carolina has much more talent than Georgia Tech does. I just don't get it. This team should be undefeated right now. Carolina should be undefeated right now.
Mm-hmm. And we know a certain person that wishes they were undefeated and blames everybody and blames everybody else for the losses. But be that as it may, the losses are there to teams they had no business losing to.
On December 2nd, when the ACC championship is in Charlotte, it should be Florida State, North Carolina, but most likely it's going to be Florida State and Louisville, and that stadium won't even be half full.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Will not be half full.
Why do they continue to have it in Charlotte? Can't you just have it on the campus of the higher seat?
It's it's usually mid-range, and it's now the headquarters of the ACC. So, which is a whole other story.
Yeah, moving out of
they've been in Greensboro. They've been in Greensboro forever, and then moved to Charlotte when Jim Phillips took over as commissioner because he didn't like Greensboro. So why you moved from Greensboro to Charlotte, other than money, makes no sense to me.
I never understood why he moved it out of Greensboro, because
he didn't like Greensboro.
When I got into media in 1995, I always knew and was familiar with the ACC being based in Greensboro. Period. I'm always familiar with them being based in Greensboro. Now that's not the case. Then COVID happened, which kind of speared everything along. And then the ACC basketball tournament was hopping around instead of staying put. Now you got to build an office. Mm-hmm. Now you got to build an office.
Getting worse now.
Oh boy.
Well, I mean, with the additions of Cal and Stanford and SMU, I mean, you're gonna probably playing Dallas and Houston and San Francisco and L.A. I mean, in
Mm-hmm.
Vegas. You're gonna play all over the place. It's bad enough they're playing in Brooklyn, which is stupid,
And Washington
or,
D.C.
or St. Petersburg. I mean, nobody
St. Oh
cares.
God, St. Petersburg, Florida.
I've
In
been
that
to I've been
place.
to I've been to ACC tournaments in Greensboro, Charlotte,
Mhm.
Atlanta, Washington. Nothing against any of the rest of them. I enjoyed all of them, but it's by far the best in Greensboro. It's not even close.
It's not. It's not even close. I've covered a couple of tournaments in Greensboro at the Coliseum, even in the midst of the renovation, because the renovation was completed in 1995 when they expanded the seating capacity. Then they built the backcourt club. They built the annexes, and by the time 1995 got here, everybody was descending on Greensboro, and that was the way it was for the longest time.
And they just do the best job of hosting the tournament. They
Mm-hmm.
just do. And
And
it's
there's
granted it's
more
not the
room.
biggest city. It's not the biggest city, and it's not the smallest city in the world either. But
No,
they
it's
do a
not.
great job of hosting the tournament.
It's perfect. It's perfect. It's a perfect place to hold the ACC tournament. Now, with the ACC championship game for football being held in Charlotte, you're just lending more credence to why the headquarters should be based in Charlotte. When I don't think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you've covered the conference a lot longer than I don't think they've sold out um Bank of America Stadium
Uh,
since the football championship game is played Charlotte.
Maybe once or twice, maybe a couple of those times when Clemson was there. Of course, they've owned the conference lately, but let's
Yeah.
face it, with the way Clemson's owned the conference lately, it's sort of been like an appetizer before they get into the college football playoff. I mean, so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fans would wait until the playoffs started to go to games.
Yep.
And now Clemson's really struggling. Other than they did play pretty well this past Saturday, but
Well, they're not gonna. It'll be a half. I wouldn't be surprised if they closed off the upper bowl.
I don't
At
see that stadium anywhere being near full when they play.
no, it's not. No, it's not. A baseball note before we close. Craig
Yeah, I saw
Counsell.
that. How about that?
Craig, Craig Count. Craig Counsell's going to manage the Cubs.
What the heck? I thought it was pretty much between the Brewers and the Mets, but the Cubs swooped in.
Well, Craig Counsell's managerial career has been ruined.
Boy, wait till they
House?
and you know how much of a robbery that is. Wait till he goes to Milwaukee the first time.
Oh, they will boo him lustily. He brought them 3 division titles, 3 playoff appearances, and now he's going to languish.
Well,
I
you can sort of see the writing on the wall. That first of all, they had not given him a contract, which makes no sense to me. And then
right.
on Saturday, they traded Mark Canada to Detroit. That tells
Mhm.
you can sort of see the writing on the wall that they're about ready to break this team down there for some stupid reason.
Yeah, and they're going to be rebuilding for the next 4 or 5 years. They're
And
going to
they
be
don't
the
need to.
St.
They don't
They're going
need
to be
to.
the St. No, they don't. They're going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. They're going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. Because after the Cardinals lost 3 of their biggest pieces, they straight up went into tank mode. Now you
Well,
got Craig Counsell managing the Cubs.
I think with a few pieces here and there, because the Cardinals are going to spend some money this off season.
Oh yeah,
I think the Cardinals are not far away from being pretty good again.
I hope so.
But the
I
Brewers are a different situation because this is a small market city. But for the last 8 or 10 years, the owners actually spent money.
Mhm.
Now it appears he's just going to tear it down and start from scratch. You can't do that. How you
Yeah.
don't give Craig Counsell a contract is beyond me.
He's been their most successful manager since Harvey Keene. I
I
mean,
just
who
don't
doesn't
get it.
remember who doesn't remember Harvey's wall bangers? Ben Ogilvy, Cecil Cooper, Pete Vukovich on the mound. I'm trying to remember their catcher, Simmons, Ted Simmons, Ted
That's it.
Simmons.
That's it.
That's the name I was looking for. Ted Simmons, Cecil Cooper. As mentioned, Ben Ogilvy, Storm and Gorman Thomas.
Molitor. Molitor,
Paul
Yount.
Molitor, Robin Yount. I mean, Craig Counsell has been the most successful manager in Milwaukee since Harvey Keene. And they're going to tear it down and start over. And my question is why? They don't have many assets in their minor league divisions.
Well, they've probably overreached how good they've been anyway. I mean, they've had their kind of calling card the last couple of years has been their pitching staff, but it's looking like they're all hurt right now. So who knows how good they're going to be? But to not give him a contract extension, come on,
to not even try,
no,
to not even try.
But a bigger question might be, what is going on with the Mets? Because I thought for sure if he were to leave the Brewers, he was going to go to the Mets, and he could have given him millions of dollars to manage there. And he turns it down. That tells you what little he thinks of the Mets.
Mm-hmm. And the Mets are going to be struggling even longer now. The Mets are going to be struggling for a longer time.
Yeah, they're talking about being competitive by 25. I don't see how that's possible.
I don't see it either. Even with the polar bear being there. Jay Spivey joins us.
Well, they haven't signed him yet either.
Nope, and they're not going to. I don't think they're going to. They're going to let him play his contract out.
The analytics geeks seem to think he's not a good fit at first base. Well, who else do they have?
Does anybody trust their eyes anymore?
Nobody does.
Does anybody trust their eyes anymore? Folks, these analytics have got to go in baseball. I think that's how we'll lead off next week. Jay Spivey joins us as he does every single Monday, talking all kinds of sports. Thank you, Jay. Love you, brother. Talk to you in 7 days.
Thank you, sir. Have a good week.